A man with connections to presidents, princes, and billionaires, found dead in one of the most secure facilities in America. The official story? Suicide. But the evidence tells a different story. Stay with me, because what happens next changes everything. August 10th, 2019, Metropolitan Correctional Center, New York. Jeffrey Epstein, one of the most high-profile prisoners in federal custody, is discovered unresponsive in his cell. Within hours, the world is told he took his own life. Case closed. But nothing about that morning makes sense. Epstein wasn't just any prisoner. He was a financier who built an empire on secrets. An island in the Caribbean where the powerful came to play. A black book filled with names that could topple governments. And he was about to talk. 3 weeks before his death, Epstein was found unconscious in his cell with marks on his neck. Prison officials called it a suicide attempt. Others saw it differently, a warning. After that incident, protocol demanded he be placed on suicide watch, round-the-clock monitoring, a cellmate, constant supervision. But then, something unexpected happened. 6 days before his death, Epstein was removed from suicide watch. No explanation, no psychiatric evaluation justifying the change, just removed. He was given a cellmate as required, but the night before he died, that cellmate was transferred out. Epstein was alone. The cameras that should have captured everything malfunctioned, both of them, at the same time, in one of the most secure facilities in the country. The guards assigned to check on him every 30 minutes didn't. They were sleeping, falsifying records for hours. This was only the beginning. Epstein's autopsy revealed fractures in his neck, multiple breaks, the hyoid bone, the thyroid cartilage. Dr. Michael Baden, a renowned forensic pathologist with 5 decades of experience, was hired by Epstein's family to observe. His conclusion? The injuries were more consistent with homicidal strangulation than suicide by hanging. The official medical examiner disagreed, ruled it suicide, but questions remain. How does a man break multiple bones in his neck from a bedsheet tied to a bunk barely 5 feet high? Why were the fractures so severe? Why did the ligature mark on his neck appear different from typical hanging cases? What they found next made no sense. Hours before his death, Epstein signed a will. Not unusual for someone contemplating suicide, perhaps, but this will did something specific. It placed all his assets into a trust incorporated in the U.S. Virgin Islands, where his island sat, a jurisdiction known for its secrecy laws. The trust would shield the identities of anyone who might benefit from his estate, names that might appear in civil lawsuits, names connected to his crimes. The timing was precise, almost planned. But to understand why Epstein's death matters, you have to understand what he knew. For decades, he moved in circles most people never glimpse. Presidents, tech robots, British royalty, scientists, academics, all drawn into his orbit, all visiting his properties, Manhattan Townhouse, New Mexico Ranch, and the island, Little St. James. Locals called it something else, Pedophile Island. Flight logs show hundreds of trips on his private jet. The names read like a who's who of global power. Some claimed they barely knew him. Others admitted to friendship but denied knowledge of his crimes. Yet the evidence kept surfacing. Photos, witness statements, victim testimony placing powerful men in compromising positions. Epstein was arrested on July 6, 2019, charged with sex trafficking of minors, conspiracy,
crimes that could send him to prison for life. He pleaded not guilty, but everyone knew what was coming. A trial, public testimony, names revealed, secrets exposed. Then he died, and with him, the answers.
The morning of August 10th didn't just rob victims of justice, it closed a door. Epstein's co-conspirators would never be named in his testimony. His methods would never be fully revealed. The scope of his network would remain partially hidden, convenient for someone. But here's what makes investigators pause. The failures that morning weren't random, they were systematic. Every safeguard failed simultaneously. The cameras, the guards, the cellmate transfer, the removal from suicide watch. Each failure necessary for what happened next. Each failure almost coordinated.
The FBI took his computers, documented his island, seized his flight logs, but certain evidence never surfaced. Video recordings that should exist don't. Documents that should connect dots remain classified or missing. Witnesses who could corroborate the full scope of his operation became difficult to locate. Ghislaine Maxwell, his longtime associate, was arrested nearly a year later. Her trial revealed disturbing details: grooming, trafficking, abuse spanning decades. She was convicted, sentenced to 20 years, but prosecutors never pushed her to name names, never offered deals for bigger fish. Why?
The official investigation continues, officially, but momentum faded after Epstein's death. Civil suits proceed slowly. Settlements include non-disclosure agreements. The island was sold, his properties dispersed, his fortune distributed through that trust, the one he signed hours before dying. And those cameras that malfunctioned? The footage was deemed unusable, corrupted. The guards who falsified records? Charged, then offered deals, their cases quietly resolved. No conspiracy, just negligence, overworked employees in an understaffed facility. But negligence doesn't explain everything.
It doesn't explain why a high-value prisoner was left vulnerable, why protocols were abandoned, why evidence disappeared, why so few questions were asked by those who should ask them, why the narrative was accepted so quickly, why the investigation into his network never reached certain names, why justice for his victims remains incomplete. What we know is this: Jeffrey Epstein built his empire on leverage, information, secrets. He collected them like currency. And in that collection were truths powerful enough to destroy reputations, end careers, topple dynasties. He was a man who knew too much, in a world where knowledge like that is dangerous. The question isn't whether he died by suicide or murder. The question is simpler: who benefited from his silence?
Dozens of women testified to years of abuse. Many more never came forward. They deserved a trial, answers, accountability. Instead, they got a closed case and a body. No testimony, no names, no network exposed beyond what they already knew. Epstein's death didn't end his story. It interrupted it, mid-sentence, right before the climax. And whoever wrote that interruption knew exactly what they were doing. The cell is empty now. The case officially closed. But on a private island in the Caribbean, buildings still stand, rooms that witnessed unspeakable things. And somewhere, in vaults and hard drives and locked files, the full truth waits. The guards were sleeping, the cameras malfunctioned, the prisoner died, and somewhere, someone breathed easier. Because the man who knew everything would never speak. What really happened that night in cell F320 may never be fully known, but one thing is certain: Jeffrey Epstein's death was the most convenient suicide in American history, for everyone except the truth.